Hello, good morning. Welcome to Sunrise this lovely midweek Wednesday. I'm Chamberlain, so.
And I'm Makine. Good morning and welcome. Today, as you very well may be aware, is maybe just another day, but it's the 15th day in the month of November. Wednesday morning, as you have said, Chamberlain. But let's begin this morning, Chamberlain, with this information from the president himself. He was speaking with some investors during his trip to Saudi Arabia in his meeting with Islamic Development Bank management, where he was negotiating a multi-billion-dollar funding package for infrastructure in the country. Part of what he said, if you read not just what he said, but also between the lines, you might have some revelations. For instance, he said, we have serious deficits in port infrastructure, power infrastructure, and agro-allied facilities that will enable sustainable food security in our country. These deficits present unrivaled opportunity for savvy investors in a market that is by far the largest on the continent. He now went ahead and said, we inherited serious liabilities. And quickly balanced it, of course, but also assets from our predecessors. We do not make any excuses. There are several sectors replete with investment opportunities for smart investors. Access to finance and guarantees can be a hindrance in some cases. You can come in here. We see you as a critical enabler. You have partnered with us before. We want to scale it up now and do much more with greater ambition and clear vision. You know, students of communication, Chamberlain, will read not just the words, but between the lines. Quite a number of things are highlighted in that statement, speaking to the fact that we haven't quite done well in the past few years, even before the president himself came into office. Talking about deficits, at least that deficit was mentioned twice in one paragraph, and presenting those deficits as opportunities speaks to the fact that there was a lot that we could have done better in the past 8 years or so that we haven't quite done. Now, talking about that, those deficits are now starting with we inherited serious liabilities. Now, also talking about assets and talking about sectors replete with investment opportunity. You know, strategic communication is actually a very, very interesting one. The president, we can give it to him that he has his way with words and is able to balance some of these words one way or the other. And there is no doubt, maybe by the time we get into the dailies, you'll also see that it's a part of the conversation that quite a number of media houses are milking this morning. The government said, the federal government, the president said, we inherited a lot of liabilities. And he balanced it by saying, we have also inherited assets. So which ones would we say are more from the people's perspective? Chamberlain?
Look, I'm not sure the question of balance plays a role here, you know. Yeah, he said what he said, but the message he expects also to read between the lines, because the NSA himself did also say that the financial distress plaguing the country was a direct result of President Bola Tinubu's administration inheriting an empty treasury upon assuming power a month ago. That's the message they're trying to get across to the people. So you can balance all you want, but the message here is empty treasury. So, you know, and I guess it was going to be a matter of time before they started, you started, you know, hearing this kinds of narrative. And one of the things that sticks out is, I don't know which government that's taking over that you would not hear this kind of rhetoric saying, look, empty treasury. It's almost as though if your predecessor leaves something in there, it's a miracle. You know, and that happens time and again, and it appears as though little or nothing they can do about it, especially if they happen to be in the same political party with you. According to them, it's maybe tantamount to rocking the boat, or if you take certain measures, bring those who might have emptied the treasury, in quotes, as they tell us here, it would just look as though maybe some would say politically ungrateful, or you want to drown our party, or, you know, those kinds of considerations. But at the end of the day here, they're saying, look, the stress, the reason why we're going through some of what we are all going through is because of this. Yet, it appears as though nothing can just be done about it. So, having said this, you expect that, oh, okay, so if they inherited empty treasury, it means that certain people should be answering certain questions. What happened? Why were we here? In spite of all the complaints that Nigerians had put up concerning the humongous borrowing that was going on, and they thought, okay, well, if that's going to be the case, well, you better have your back end covered. It turns out they've come in, they've seen what is in there. It is in red. And not that you're fast tracking or going ahead of ourselves. What's the guarantee that if this government finishes, another comes in, they won't give us the same narrative, inherited empty treasury? And then when you tell them, okay, look, publish your accounts on a regular basis, let people see what's going in and what's left, it won't happen. So it's, when you sit back and hear this, you ask yourself, okay, so I haven't said this. What do they want people to do? What are they going to do about it? Yes, I know they've said they're going to hunker down. They'll ensure that they fold their sleeves and get down to work, because they also said it here that, look, that we're not making excuses. We're going to work. We already get the message. People have emptied it all. And this is at the federal level. The states, it appears as though that one, you just forget about it. It's like, it's normal for that to happen in states. And accountability, too, is the issue with some of those states. Here we are, day after day, trying to see financial transparency with state government in terms of how they run the budget of those states, what goes on, are they frugal with the expenses, how they utilize it. As you may call it little, the palliatives that have been released to them, what measures are being used, are they transparent templates? You can't build a society if you don't have credible data, or people don't see you as being financially transparent, and then you want to go out there to go borrow much more money. And then, look, if you're running a business, you know that there are certain things that you can't even, you perish any thought whatsoever of you not applying your books properly. Because look, in this other sector, if your books are not right, government agencies are the ones that will clamp down on you. The tax officials, all of them, will clamp down on you if they smell anything going wrong with your books. But at the federal level, at the state level, who holds them accountable? Who are they accountable to? You know, so sometimes you see these things and you just wonder. And that's why you see all the very, very stern, serious contestations for political office so juicy that they know that when they get in there, their hands are in the till, they leave. If the same political party takes over, chances are that their predecessor goes back to Hawaii or something, just get a free pass. That's why they struggle to ensure that, look, you have to cover my tracks here. Because if that's the case, I don't want to answer questions. So we need to go back and ask ourselves questions.
Something that you said, Chamberlain, interests me when you talk about us going to investors and all. It is instructive that this comment of the president, we inherited liabilities, we also inherited assets, was made, that statement was made in his conversation with prospective investors. And he also said at that meeting, you have invested with us before. Let's scale it up, let's scale it higher. Now that is very instructive for me. We inherited liabilities. And as you also mentioned, coming from no less a person than the National Security Advisor. Now, those are very strong statements coming from the highest levels of the federal government. And, you know, when you also now mention, Chamberlain, states, I sincerely have no idea what to say. Because now the federal government is calling these foreign investors to come into the country without partnership or collaboration, significant collaboration with the states. I don't know what sense what headway we're going to make out of those collaborations. What do you think?
Look, even in investment circles, if you want to get mergers, acquisition, partnerships, they look at your books. How strong are you? What's your status? They look at all of those data. Those indices are very key in determining, you know, if you're liquid, if you go far. And then here we are talking to investors. And of course, in business terms, assets and liabilities, that's natural. That's the thing. But they also read between the lines, because if the NSA has told us point blank what transpired, and, you know, look, the other thing is this. As is our. Certain persons are answering questions behind the scenes, but not open to the media or to the public. Don't rule that out. In fact, you can almost guarantee that that is happening. But it won't be public. So the thing about that then is, if that's going on and people don't know, and you're keeping it hush-hush, you may not even apply the laws evenly. You may bend the rules. You may retrieve monies from certain groups of people and you leave out some other groups of people because you're doing it, you know, under the cover of whatever. And if that's the case, it could be that tomorrow, if I've got a record on you, I know that, okay, if I'm seeking something else, I have your record. So if you move against me, hey, I show you your book spot. Investors will look at all of this and say, look, so if I'm going to come to this country and do business or government to government, what's the guarantee that these people too will not leave an empty treasury? So how do I invest? I have to be cautious here and ensure that I don't burn my fingers if I'm going to go in. So as a country, we also need to ensure that we put those kinds of measures in place. They always tell you, I think it's textbook talk now, government is a continuum. Yeah, by word of mouth, but what about the books? What about holding people accountable? What about ensuring that, look, it doesn't matter who takes over, whoever was there before, my friend or not, if you violated the laws, you have to just face the music. Is it utopian to ask that? I think that's just pretty basic in terms of that. But it's clear now what happened to the treasury. So others will be looking to see, okay, will the former government then speak up? Are they going to come up with books, publish and say, no, but this was what happened. This was how the books were when we left. Oh boy, you know, the people would love to see all of that. Accountability, probably that might be steps we may take towards accountability. Who knows? Who knows? I don't. You? Okay, let's take you through some of the dailies here. This morning, I will start with New Telegraph. Good morning, Mark. Well, yeah, let's start with New Telegraph. Don't worry, you see how soon. Nationwide strike. Very compliance as labor cripples activities in some states, sectors. Federal Secretariat, banks open. NAS, NNPC Limited office shut in Abuja. Partial success in Lagos. Sport activities grounded. Schools, hospitals closed in Ogun, Osun, Bauchi, Delta. Workers shun strike in Oyo. Mixed response in Borno. Train services affected as NRC workers comply. Labor unions reply on Onuga. Vow further action today. So brace yourself then, if that's the narrative that we're getting from labor about all of this. So, yeah, that's what you get right there. But look at this as well. One-party state, Atiku calls for merger to stop APC. Fears ruling party turning Nigeria into one-party dictatorship. I'd love to see this kind of merger principle in business circles. Those are the areas that matter. I mean, we should highlight and ensure that we elevate them and ensure the best of standards. I mean, you hear them suggest all kinds of things in politics, and you know, if it's to foster some's interest, oh, you see lovely ideas. But you know, if you were to apply that to the economy, I guess maybe as good as anybody else's. Oh no, let me add this, guys. It's equally important. Foreign students, Nigeria ranked 10th largest sending country. Scratch your report. Oh, initially from a distance I thought it was spending, but I'm saying sending country. 10th largest sending country. All you need to do is just go down memory lane. I remember how much CBN has said Nigerians spend. First they tell you how much they spend in West Africa, then they give you the states, how much you spend in different states, then they tell you how much you spend in Africa, and then how much you spend overseas. I think it was a couple of days ago when, I can't remember which paper, saying that we're still sending students abroad. The final people have to take, of course, take their future by the scruff of the neck. It doesn't matter what circumstances. But Ministry of Education, such as this one, may need to ask themselves, okay, if we're spending all of this money out there, what can we do to ensure that these monies don't keep going and we keep them within the country? You can imagine how much pressure you take off the demand for Forex if you were to slash it by half. You can imagine how your KPI will look in that ministry if you do this. And wait till the first quarter, the KPI, and see which minister is doing what kind of impact are they having, and we'll tell.
Good morning, Chamberlain. It'll be interesting to see. I think now people are living in Abuja. I don't know whether that's getting to Lagos, you know, having to contend with fuel queues. We still have to.
Yeah, I think they're still enjoying in Lagos. I don't think it's gotten strong yet.
I can give us, you know, an update on that, but I see that a lot of stations are not selling, and the NNPC that is selling, you know, has extensive queues in front of it. Not just NNPC, one or two stations as well.
Even at 640 naira per litre.
Even at 640 naira. And we had one of our viewers, you know, sending a message yesterday that some people are queuing. They are on that queue to just buy 5 or 10 litres. You know, so it's not like as if there is a lot of money. And then in this,
all that time.
So you have to ask yourself if there's going to be a black market, at what rate would the black marketers be?
Would it be affordable?
Big question. This is just how many months away from, or how many months just after it was declared. Fuel subsidy is gone. Is it really gone? Okay. Well, we will wait for responses from the regulators on that one. But, you know, tying very strongly into the discussion that you and I were having, Daily Trust is reporting that I inherited serious liabilities from my predecessors. There's an S to that. So I don't think that anyone should feel attacked.
S?
Yes.
How many predecessors does he have?
From my predecessors.
I don't understand that
S. Of course I cannot.
Wait.
He didn't say predecessor.
I think I'm missing something.
Predecessors. So there is a...
I thought he's supposed to speak for predecessor.
No. You said government is a continuum. Wasn't that what you said?
Wait. I'm not talking about government of 20 years ago. What is this?
You know,
Daily Trust, are you sure about this? I need to look
That's what he's reported to have said. It's the lead story attributed to Tinubu. And you also have a number of riders to that particular story. No magic wand for economic crisis. That's according to the CBN governor. Federal government has run out of ideas attributed to The Economist. And look at this, hoarders, speculators responsible for Forex crisis. Somebody's speaking right there.
Wait, I don't understand that. Hoarders, speculators responsible for Forex crisis.
Yes.
You mean our economy is that vulnerable?
Yeah, some people will say that, look, the moment we knew that our Forex base, foreign reserves were in danger, they knew it was only a matter of time. So the people who should pass their Forex through the banks are no longer doing so. They're finding other informal ways. And I think that Taiwo Yidili made reference to this, that a lot of the remittances that used to come home are no longer coming home. People are finding ways to say, you know what, give this money, they leave it abroad, exchange the money abroad, and then do the Naira equivalent here.
There's a reason why that started. It wasn't like that before.
Exactly. So those are part of the things that we're beginning to see. And then you also have a situation whereby when people make money in Naira, they want to convert their money to dollars.
I think if they read the story,
hold it.
They will get to understand why some of those things are. Why were they passing it through the banks before? Why did they stop? So when they say, what, hoarders, speculators responsible, that's half of the story. Because if the policies were friendly, why would you switch?
So it's a big story. It's right there on the front page of Daily Trust. Let's not preempt it. It's just for you to read the story somewhere inside the paper.
I'm tempted to preempt it.
You also see right here, labor strike cripples activities in Abuja State. Union leaders chase out non-compliant workers. BUK suspends exams. Hospitals, banks, courts shut. Partial compliance in Lagos, Rivers, Oyo. NOA calls for strike suspension. You find details on page 27 of the paper. A number of other stories here. Navy comes Lagos waters, intercepts boat carrying 90 drums of PMS. It is PMS that we're still looking to buy. I thought they said it was now expensive in neighboring countries. So what exactly is making the PMS lucrative to sell wherever it is you're smuggling it to? There's a big question. I think you'll find details on page 17. A number of, you have this one here, anxiety in Kano Plateau ahead of appeal court judgments. Atiku seeks merger of opposition parties to checkmate APC. And passengers evacuated as Port Harcourt-bound aircraft overshoot runway.
That was what many people were trying to tell them from the get-go. Or they even vied. Pull together. Now that's the message they're selling now. There you go. There you go.
Well, maybe they might take it. Maybe they might not. Day 27 is where you find details. The former vice president is making a call nonetheless, because really, together you stand, divided you fall. I think it's an age-long lesson. Daily Trust, that will be it for the paper.
And look at this Nigeria newspaper. We inherited serious liabilities, says Tinubu. I knew the papers were going to milk that, just that part. Negotiates multi-million-dollar funding package infrastructure with Islamic Bank. Negotiates multi-million-dollar funding package infrastructure with Islamic Bank. That story, details of it you'll find on page 2 of the paper. Talking about the labor strike, look at the bottom of the page. Labor strike cripples activities in banks, NAS, other government offices. Stories on page 4. TCN denies shutting down national grid. Find that story on page 7 of the paper today. Nigerian woman, Mark, this might interest you. Nigerian woman gets new Guinness World Record for longest wig. Yeah. She has the longest wig in the world. That story is on page 17. If you find it interesting, check it out in this Nigeria newspaper. That's the paper this morning.
Vanguard, we inherited serious liabilities, Tinubu. But when you say you knew they'll milk you, the president knows what he's saying, so you might also have known that this was going to happen. Says he won't give excuses, so you see. Negotiates multi-million-dollar infrastructure funding package with Islamic Development Bank. There you go. And then, Nigeria needs fresh ideas, urgent restructuring to survive. Ascribed to Baseki. Yeah. We've got several other stories there. So, that's Vanguard this morning.
Well, you bet that I quickly went to that story about wig. The wig story.
The longest
what? The longest wig.
Oh,
well,
boy.
It's interesting. I'm glad that it's a woman that said it, not a man. So let us leave it there. But take a look at leadership. Disobedience of court. CSO's lawyers call for labor leaders' arrest. Court order affront on workers' right. Say union leaders as strike grounds Nigeria. Electricity workers join action today. Okay. We understand they've already joined in a number of states. the key question I keep asking is, do they put up the lights before they go? Or they leave the lights on and then just shut the gates?
I don't think your answer might be on the front page of...
Okay. I hope that's not the response, to be honest. But let us continue to interrogate. When electricity workers go on strike, I hope they don't put off the lights. You find right there, Ajero holds 4 national warning strikes in 9 months. Okay, there's some people who are also counting for him. Page 4 is where you'll get to find details right there. And look at this. 20 million Nigerians in diaspora remit $24 billion yearly. That's according to the federal government. Owando signs 800 million naira loan at Intra-African Trade Fair. And look, petrol queues return to Abuja as price disparity heightens. That's also right there. Page 25 is where you'll find details. Okay, so maybe it's not that other filling stations are not selling. It might be that they are selling, but because of the price difference between themselves and the NNPC, maybe that's why people are queuing in front of the NNPC. That's a possibility.
You know,
but I haven't seen, to be honest, I haven't seen other stations selling. I mean, I've seen just one other station, and I imagine that it is selling at close rate to the NNPC because there was a queue in front of that other station as well.
Those were the challenges Nigerians were facing before the removal of subsidy.
Yeah.
Why was it facing them now after it been removed?
Because the NNPC is the only one getting Forex, the official rate. The NNPC is the only one that has enough storage and it's not paying some high storage fees, etc.
But the promise of subsidy removal,
yes, was that everybody was going to be on a level playing field. So that obviously is not happening. And I did tell you before, Chamberlain, that the moment we saw, you know, people who are in the importation business, people who are importing fuel into the country, trying to source their Forex from the black market, then we knew that we were in trouble.
Well, I said, look, I'm a competitor too in this industry. So everybody go source your Forex, buy whatever you buy, sell whatever you want to sell. Yeah. It's been liberalized, they tell us. Is that not what it means?
That, and take that at your own peril.
Oh,
well, look at this one. Poor services. 2.5 million mobile subscribers swap SIMs. Okay, it's the page 7 read right there. And let's not even go to the NC. Because if we go there, I mean, maybe we should. Why not? That's really, what has your services been like these days? You can let us know. How's it been making phone calls? How's it been buying data? Because they say data is the new, what is it? Data is the new what now? It's the new gold or the new oil.
For them.
Yes, data is a new oil. I know how often I have to buy data, and I don't just understand.
So that cannot be your own oil then. It's oil for them.
Certainly. And look who's been speaking here. CBN Ways and Means fueled inflation, weakened Naira. That's Sanusi speaking right there. We'll have to leave it there for leadership newspapers.
Talking about how data and all is going. I was just speaking with a friend yesterday who was lamenting the speed at which the data, disappears from her devices. Says like someone is just leaking it like soup. Hey, I wasn't there. So, another thing that is going like that would probably be electricity. Look at the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning talking about that. Amcon banks bailout. 1 year after takeover of discos, darkness, liquidity crisis persist. What does all of that mean? The details you'll find on page 6. And some discos are listed right there. Kano Disco, Ibadan Disco, Benin Disco, PH Disco, Kaduna Disco, all of them on the front page in that graphic you see right there on the front page of the paper. Compliance defiance as NLC TUC indefinite strike kicks off. How is that going on your end? You may want to let us know. The details you find on page 6 of the paper. And a few other stories right there on the front page of The Guardian. You picked the one that takes your fancy and take a look. That's the Guardian newspaper this morning, as well as a look at some of the dailies. To stay with us, we're right back for more.
Following the circular from Joint Labour in regards to suspension of services at government and private organizations, there's been mixed level of compliance with the industrial action. In the southern part of the country, most states observed the strike, especially at government offices. In Bayelsa, the Ogun State capital, staff of the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company was stranded at the gate, which is under lock and key in compliance with the industrial action by the Nigeria Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress.
As at yesterday, between 2 and 5, the joint NEC was conducted, and it was from that meeting that was resolved unanimously that we should embark on that indefinite strike, which commenced 12 midnight. And we are here, and we have been going around to ensure that there is compliance.
In Lagos State, the nation's commercial capital, the NLC-TUC strike has taken its toll on activities at the ports, as the Nigeria Ports Authority in Apapa is completely shut down and people are displeased with closure and enforced strike.
This is the main port. There is no activity taking place there. If you see any bus going to the other side, it's the administrative building. We are obeying the National President Directive.
But a rowdy scene erupts as some oppose the strike action. The story is, however, different at the local wing of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, which has been buzzing with activities with passengers visiting airline ticketing counters for their flight tickets and other boarding documents. So far, the call by organized labor is not impacting on flight operations at the airport, but it seems like plans have been put in place to forestall any breaches due to the strike call, as security personnel are on standby. In River State, offices within the Federal Secretariat along Aba Road, which houses multiple ministries, departments and agencies, were largely empty. Those that were open had very few staff at work. Some of the offices visited include Federal Character Commission, Ministry of Works, Housing, and the Nigerian Immigration Service, among others. The chairman of the NLC and TUC also briefed the press.
Organized labor is compliant with the national directive. We may not have achieved 100% today, but as we progress, because this is an indefinite strike, we will ensure full compliance.
In Edo State, a strict adherence to the NLC-TUC directives are being implemented as the NLC state chairman and other officials went around locking out civil servants who made it to the office environment, including the State High Court and some financial institutions in the state were also locked, leaving customers to use ATM terminals. Meanwhile, in Delta State, the story is the same, as the premises of the Delta State Secretariat along the Mariam Babangida Road is shut, while workers who showed up for work were asked to go home. Also, teaching and learning activities could not hold in government schools Across the state, with teachers and students in compliance were sent home. Flight services are not disrupted at the Sam Mbakwe International Cargo Airport in Owerri, Imo State. With this level of compliance to the labor directive, many Nigerians hope that whatever the issue between labor and government is, it should be resolved in good time before it has adverse effects on economic activities.
Welcome back. So, Comrade Festus Osifo joins us, President of TUC in Pengerson. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning, Chamberlain. Good morning, Maukbe.
Wow,
good morning, Nigerians.
What a day it is. So now we're grappling with another strike. I know you already heard the responses from government and several other people about what they think of the strike. First of all, they say, look, this is not in government's, I beg your pardon, this is not in Nigerian workers' interest. This strike is a personal thing for labor.
Yeah, I think that is where they've always missed it. That is where they've always got it wrong from the onset. You know, for you to think that the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress will be brutalized the way he was brutalized in Owerri, and you are now saying this is personal for us, I think this is completely wrong. Even if the Nigerian Labour Congress president went to Owerri, went to a party in Owerri, and he was assaulted by the Nigerian police, there will be reaction. I talk less of the fact that he went to Owerri in pursuance of the decision of the organ of NLC. NLC made a decision in their organs meeting that this particular subject should be pushed to the, to conclusion. So he went there, not him alone. He did not go there alone. He went there with some other presidents of different trade unions. CWC members of NLC, there were also members of TUC that also accompanied him in that particular trip. So he did not go there in his personal capacity. Even if it was his personal capacity, then there would have still be reaction. But he went there on an official capacity, in pursuance of the decision of the NEC. Then they are saying it's personal. For us, that's where the government completely got it wrong by trying to mix this with politics. For us, completely what went wrong in Owerri should be addressed, and they should forget about the political connotation that they are trying to bring into this entire.
Did you hear the comments of the governor? He says, look, as far as he's concerned, from his own records, 98% of the workers there are paid. He says he doesn't owe 98% of them, and that the issues that Labour is talking about is clearly not in sync with what they find in the States.
So if that was true, so sometime in May this year, the government reached an MOU with Labour. So the MOU was very clear that, okay, there will be a tripartite arrangement that will be put in place so that all parties will sit down and look at the issues one after the other. It was signed by the SGF, the secretary to the state government. So he signed the MOU on behalf of the government. In that meeting, you had the permanent secretaries. In that meeting, you had the state actors in that meeting. So if there weren't any issues, why were they shying away from bringing all the parties together? So on several occasions, we have written to them. Like as we said, this issue started since 2021. That now led to the first MOU in 2021. It wasn't honored. Then the second MOU just in May this year, that the secretary to the Imo State government, was in that meeting. And at the end of the day, an MOU was reached. But today, nothing was done. So if there was no issue, why was he running away for us to have conversation?
What in that MOU has not been honored?
Yeah, so the MOU literally said that because we raised several issues. One, issues about pay to workers, then issues of declaring workers as ghost workers, even when those workers were going to work on a daily basis. But they said they were ghost workers. What literally happened was that the Imo State government, when he came aboard, this governor, he literally said the amount of money he's going to be paying to workers every month. So literally said it. So when he did that, then once he gets to that amount, the others, they will not pay them. They will call them ghost workers. And so he was doing that. When Labour will shout, he will not rationalize. So if This month, he paid, let's say, 5,000 workers. Then next month, he will remove 1,000 and bring additional 1,000. So when we discovered this, we said no, because our members, they cried to us. We now said no, that this is literally wrong, and this should be addressed. So all these were put on the table on that particular day in May. And an MOU was signed off that we would have conversation after then. A timeline was also set. But there was no conversation whatsoever, even when we wrote to them on multiple occasions. So it's very convenient for the governor to come out today and say that 90% of the workers were paid.
How come the governor is saying that, look, there's been no communication between him and the labor leadership, national labor leadership, that he's open for communication? Nothing whatsoever has happened between them.
Okay, Chamberlain, if I leave this studio, I will get that MOU and I will send the MOU to you so that you will see that there was a meeting in May. So for the governor to come out and be lying to Nigerians, I'm really surprised. There were meetings in May that was attended by the secretary to the state government. Secretary to the state government is one of the pillars of government. He was there in the meeting. And in that meeting, the Secretary General of Trade Union Congress was there, likewise of the NLC. So we all sat down and had the conversation, and we reached that MOU. But today, nothing was done. So all effort that was made to the government to say, okay, honor this MOU that you have signed, he doesn't even reply anybody. He doesn't even care.
Comrade Adam Tushomole, now a senator, former governor, also spoke on some of these matters. So I'd like you to just listen to what he said, and then let's get your response to it.
As we speak, we have states that are not paying 30,000. And those states are not being mobilized to go on strike. The federal government had granted 35,000 naira increase, right? And those discussions were supposed to be for and on behalf of not only the federal government, but on behalf of all workers in Nigeria, including those employed by local governments and state governments. And the additional revenue accruing from the withdrawal of subsidy trickles out to the states and to the local government. Now, I would wish that somebody at the NSC recognize that the hunger in the stomach of federal employees is not any worse than the hunger in the stomach of those state employees, not those local government employees. If these are the issues on the table, even as a senator, I will publicly support any action against any government that think that we should lament away our hunger and why the people do what they do. Unfortunately, this strike is not about those issues. And I think we have to be careful not to mix our political opinion with our responsibilities, because the issues confronting workers are so many that they should become the priority. I want Labour to, we cannot be apolitical, because politics is about the people. And I have argued when I was in NLC that nobody has a right to be partisan, much more than those who turn the wheel of our industrial progress. But it's saying that we must recognize that however hard you try, when it comes to politics, people are going to have different reasons for supporting different candidates. And you have to be careful not to be seen to be doing the bidding of a particular candidate or a particular political party.
What do you think of that?
Yes, our senior comrade, Adam Tushomole, you give opinion based on the information that you have. Today he's a senator, so he's busy with national politics. So I think he does not have sufficient information. So maybe after here, we'll give him as much information as possible once he reaches out, because I think he went to the villa to meet with them in the villa. So that could be the information that they have given to him in the villa. Has he spoken with Joe Ajero? Has he spoken with the senior labor leaders in the country to also have their opinion on what this subject is? Because again, you must always balance opinion, because we must be careful to run with single
Has he spoken with your leadership? I mean, your union?
No, we have not had conversation with him.
So what is he missing there?
Yeah, because clearly what Ajero went to do in Owerri was not politics. It wasn't politics, the organ of NLC that took that decision. They were not political. I mean, when we call for organ meetings, you could see robust debates that goes into it. When, the neck of these bodies are over 200-300 people. people of diverse experience, people of diverse culture, who does not even know about the little politics taking place in a particular place. So the problem is that when the NEC takes decision, putting everything together, as a leader, you have to champion it. As a leader, you have to implement. And I think our senior comrade, Adam Sushomole, is quite aware of this. So basically, maybe the information he got from the villa was that he went there to play politics, but I will tell him that clearly our senior comrade said that was not the case.
You know, I have listened, and I think I've also asked questions, and I think well, even if they are misconstrued, so be it. But you know, you've said this is not politics, and you know, even you call him senior comrade. He says there's nobody that has even more right to be political than the labor unions that turn the industrial wheel. That's what he said, and that they can be political. There's nothing wrong with that, because if you look at the time that Labour chose to go and stage this protest, it was during a political season. Imo State was about to elect a governor for another 4-year term, for a new 4-year term, as the case might be. And that was the time that Labour chose to go and, you know, make the point that, look, you're owing workers salaries and we want this paid. In such a time when you know that could either sway opinion for or against a particular candidate in an election, would you say that it was totally apolitical? Yeah, so we should, you know, in May, there was a protest in Imo in May. Mm-hmm. There was a protest in Imo in May. It did not yield result. There was another protest in Imo somewhere around August. So it's not that the Labour Congress folded their arms and waited till November 1st. No. This has been on. It has been on over this period. Like as we said, it started in 2001. So now, if, for example, we did that sometime in May, we did that sometime in August, and we are coming again to press home our demand, that does not give anybody any monopoly of right to perpetuate the level of thuggery that was meted to the NLC president. Yes, I understand. We could have said, okay, why go in there 2 weeks to election? But the question that you could ask is that, you know, when we are championing causes like this, there are issues that because if you look at it, May 11th was the election, right? And the protest was on the 1st. So that's close to 2 weeks to the particular election that we are making reference to. It wasn't the eve of the election. It wasn't 2 days or 3 days or 4 days to election. Even if it was a month, Maokwe, people could have still said, mostly those in power, could have said that it was also politics. In fact, when we went there in May, we also learned, because the governor and his people also granted interviews. They said, no, that is because of the election that is coming. So truly, what is the right time? If you go there after election, they are also going to tell us that, it's because your candidate lost election and that you are going to incite the people against the government. So what time is truly right, Maokwe? So what's the way forward now? Because if the Imo State government continues and you're about to hold the entire nation to ransom as a result of what has happened in Imo State, let me get this right. Is it about what has happened in Imo State or what has happened to the Labour leader, Mr. Joe Ajaero?
Yes, it's actually because of what has happened to the brutalization of a Labour leader. Like as we have said, Ajaero is an individual, but he represents an institution. NLC is an institution that is rooted in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Like the allusions I have made here and there, that today, for example, if you have a president of a country assaulted in another country, it could lead to even war. You will not be able to now pick and choose and say, no, the president was assaulted in a border, so let's limit it to that border. No, because for us, Ajaero is represents a national institution, and the people that brutalized him, they were led by the Nigerian police. And the Nigerian police is a national institution. Do you know that since this has happened, there is no single, until yesterday, there is no single statement from the federal government. So for us, it is fundamentally wrong. When the police, it was Thursday the other week that we now came to, I mean, we led our members to the police headquarters. That was when the police now told us that they will set up a panel to investigate. So practically, this happened on the 1st of November. On the 3rd of November, we issued a threat that we'll go on national strike if some certain things are not done on the 8th. On the 7th, as patriotic Nigerians, we decided to shift our sword. We now shifted it by additional 1 week. The reason why you give timelines before you go on strike, the reason why you give strike notice is to get the government institutions to act. So that was why we gave 1 week, but when they were not forthcoming, we gave additional 1 week. But until yesterday, that was when they started reaching out. That is not how to govern, and that is not how to lead a state.
I think it must be very clearly said that, you know, what has happened to the Labour leader, to the NLC president, Comrade Joe Ajaero, is totally condemnable. As a journalist, and I think as a media house, I can very categorically say that that is not something that we support. And the questions that we pose to you are just the questions that we need to pose to you.
Sure.
I'm just wondering, you know, if the state government continues to deny, they continue to deny that, you know, they do not owe any workers. They continue to say, oh, we're not exactly, the NLC president did not play his cards right. That's why he was assaulted. Oh, we condemn what happened. However you read it, whether it is half-heartedly or wholeheartedly, condemn it. I don't know what the progress is going to be. When will the NLC and the TUC now say, okay, our point has been made with the strike that we've embarked upon. We will call this off, and that will be that?
Yes, the point really is that the issues in Imo are local. So the issues, if it was those issues alone in Imo, we have issues with different state government. We go to different states to carry out protests. We were TUC, we were in Lagos State at a time, sometime in September, to protest the issues of retail, right? So we did not snowball the issue of retail in Lagos to a national strike. We don't always do that. But as we were in Lagos, for example, then you now have the police, the Nigerian police, are brutalizing people there. And those who are supposed to act at the federal level, they are not acting. That's the challenge. So we are not using this strike to solve the problem in Imo, no. If you check our communique, what we have said is that Nigerian police, they led the brutalization of Comrade Joe Ajaero. So now, we want those people to be apprehended. They know them. We know their names. In fact, some of the people that led this, they work for the Imo State government. We know them. The area commander that led this, he must be apprehended. So this is not difficult to achieve. So when we started pushing all this, there were no single comment from the Nigerian state. But since yesterday, we have been having some conversations. Once we progress those conversations and we see clearly that they are serious to bring these people to book, they are serious to hold them to account, then, of course, we would let go.
But the federal government has said, oh, the Inspector General of Police has spoken. And indeed, the Inspector General of Police spoke the eve before the elections, the eve of the elections, saying that, oh, the CP, under whose watch this thing happened, has been transferred out of the state, and that there's an investigation being conducted into what happened. Shouldn't have been enough for the NLC.
The day this thing happened, the Inspector General of Police, in fact, they were even in the same hotel with Joe Ajaero. We knew some of the comments that senior police officers made that day. Commissioner of Police several commissioners of police, they were there for retreat. So several commissioners of police that our people met on that day, we knew their comments that this was a state-sponsored terrorism. It was very clear. So some of these people, we know their names, they know them. So the Inspector General of Police in this particular subject is also compromised. So what we are saying is that the office of the NSA should lead this investigation. It should not even be the Inspector General of Police. They should set up, because yes, we have trust in him. Because in this particular subject, we also feel that the IGP is compromised. So let there be a team of DSS, a team of all the state agencies that is going to lead this investigation. Because if you leave it only for the Inspector General of Police, I will tell you that nothing is going to come forth. Because he was there that day in the state when this matter was even reported to them. They were all there in Owerri. They were even in the same hotel with Our comrades that were there in Owerri, they did not swing it to action. They knew clearly what has happened. So he's compromised.
All right. But what about the narrative that Labour is in clear violation of court order for this particular strike?
Yeah, Chamberlain, when we talk about court order, for us, first, our senior comrade that spoke earlier, when he was leading us in the labor movement, he clearly referred to such orders as black market injunctions. But first of all, we were not served. We don't have, as we speak today, we don't have service of any court order. So when you procure court order, even if you procure it at midnight, you need to serve it on the party. And I will tell you that we clearly don't have any, they should bring proof of service of any court order to both TUC and NLC. We don't have any.
So if you have a court order, you'll call off the strike?
We'll speak with our lawyer. When we have the court order, we speak with our lawyer, we examine it, and if that is the right thing for us to do, we do. And again, we also want to pass this as well, because, yesterday, someone asked me in the passing about the court order. We said, yes, we don't have a service of a court order, but that we have a state, a government today who perpetually does not even obey court orders. We have government today. How many court orders have we seen when DSS was holding Emefiele? How many court orders was passed for Emefiele to be released? We could count them, countless number of them. We have a state who refuses to obey court order. You now expect others to even obey the court order. But once we see it, we are responsible institutions. We will not say because federal government continuously violate court orders, we will examine it, and if it is right thing for us to do, yes, we will.
Ayo.
How about, thank you, Chamberlain. How would you respond, Mr. Sifo, when someone says you actually have the court order, but you are denying it just so it makes it look like you are doing the right thing since you don't have the court order?
Ayo, when you have, when you serve an order, someone will sign for it, right? In most cases, you will stamp it and you receive it, right? So as of today, there is nothing like that. There was nobody in the offices of both the NLC and TUC, because in our next meeting, we also examined this. There is nobody in the office of TUC and NLC that has received this court order or signed for such court order. We don't have the court order today. And I want to tell government that we should be much more sincere in the things we do. It's not when issues are raised. When issues are raised, ultimatums are given in the eve of the strike. You will not run to court to procure a court order. No, I think that is the wrong approach. The wrong approach to industrial relations. When you are given timelines, you are given 2 weeks notice of a strike, you should do everything possible to engage. We have said the Ministry of Labor, it is their purview. It is in their purview to kickstart such engagement. And I will tell you that as of today, there is no single communication from them. You should not wait that, because we can go and procure court order, then we have to disregard them. We wait until the eve of the commencement of the action, you will not go and procure an order. No. That is not how to go about industrial relations.
Well, conversation may go to that particular court order again, but there was something that's come up in your conversation with my colleagues with you right there. But just to be clear, just so there is no ambiguity, why has the NLC and TUC called this total strike?
Yeah, I think I talked about that earlier as well. The strike was called because of the brutalization of Comrade Joe Ajaero by the Nigerian police in Owerri. That was why the strike was called. Because Joe Ajaero went to Owerri on an official assignment. Joe Ajaero represents an institution, the Nigerian Labour Congress. And the Nigerian Labour Congress, the word connotes Nigeria. It is not Imo Labour Congress. And, it happened May 1st. We did not just call for strike, it happened November 1st. We did not call for strike on the 2nd. We did not call for strike on the 3rd. We gave almost 2 weeks for government and the state actors to act. But within this period, there was no engagement whatsoever. Within this period, there was no even remorse from the government. So, because Joe Ajaero is a national represent NLC as an institution nationally, and because it was the police, the Nigerian police, that did this to Joe Ajaero, or that led the mob that attacked Joe Ajaero. So that is why we are making it a national issue.
All right. We'll take that up, the rest of it, when we return from this break. Do stay with us.
Of the issue of labor, I want to put it on record that my civil servants, the workers of Imo State, who have been verified and cleared, over 98% of them, this government is not owing them any dime. If there is anything, I met backlog of salaries of judges in this state, 24 months, left behind. And I struggled to, I made sure I paid all the outstanding arrears of salaries. So Imo State government is not owing any worker. The sponsored antagonism between Imo State and national leadership of Nigerian Labour Congress, politically sponsored antagonism, we are already handling. The government of Imo State regrets any assault meted on the president of Nigerian Labour Congress, but at the same time condemn in its entirety the attempt by the president of Nigerian Labour Congress to take the leadership of Imo State for granted. He is one of us. He is from this state, elected as president of Nigerian Labour Congress. It should be an advantage to Imo State.
Thank you for staying with us. Well, Mr. Sifo, now that it is clear, I mean, you've answered that question earlier, and I asked it again just for ambiguity in case anyone lost track of it. Now that you are saying that this strike was called because of the brutalization of, the NLC president, as Marquez said, the Labour is not the only one caught in the fray. Some of our colleagues were also caught in the fray. So it's not a question of whether or not anyone is in support of anyone. We're asking these questions because, as Mr. Adams Oshiomhole said earlier, there are other issues that could have taken the attention of Labour. According to budget, for instance, at least 15 states are not paying the minimum wage. In 2022, a strike was called, was suggested by the leadership of the NLC at the time, that those states that aren't getting the minimum wage should go on strike. 2023 October, at least 15 states are still not getting the minimum wage. Isn't that ground sufficient or significant enough for action, as opposed to Imo State, which, unless you're saying that Imo State is also not paying the minimum wage?
What Imo State is doing, the crime what is happening in Imo is even much more than the issue of minimum wage. When you say a state is not paying minimum wage, at least people that are legitimately working, legitimate workers are not declared as ghost workers. Because do you know what that is? Someone that goes to work every month. So at the end of the month, he receives nothing. And this happened for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. But for the one that is not paying minimum wage, for example, somebody still has something to go home with, although it is against the law. If you check, there are several states that you may not know. It may not gain national attention. The reason the Imo is gaining national attention today is probably because it became a national issue. So there are lots of these states that we have done. In fact, there are some states that we have had 3 months continuous strike. There are some states that we have had 4 months continuous strike, that we have had series of protests in the past. A state like Kogi, for example, we have took up the governor on this, the government on several occasions. So at the end of the day, it is not just the issue of Imo alone. It is an issue that we have advocated in several of these states. I mean, just as been said by Senior Comrade Adam Toshomola earlier, that the issue of 35,000 naira that was announced by the federal government, that some of the states today, as we speak today, the state councils, they are all engaging their government. A state like Oyo has made pronouncement. I think a state like Lagos have also made pronouncement. So some of these states, even a lot of states in the Northwest, they are currently meeting because we're giving them deadlines for them to also implement. Those that cannot do 35,000, some of them have said they will do 30,000, and some of them have started implementing. Some said they will do 25,000, and even though they said they will do 25,000, they have started implementing. So in some of these states, the questions were now, are we going to backdate till September or October? Some of the states have agreed that, okay, they will start doing from October, and from this November, people will start receiving the extra top-up. So these are all the efforts. So if you follow up closely, there are a lot of states that we have had strike for a very long time. At times, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, we'll be on the table, having conversations with them, and workers will also be at home. This has happened in states. This has happened across several sectors in the labor movement. So it is not just about Imo. But the issue of Imo became much more prominent because of the fact that workers were declared as ghost workers even when they go to work on a daily basis. That, for us, is even much more grievous.
Has there been any investigation by the NLC and TUC to validate or verify the claims of the Imo State government? That question is asked because for a government to be saying that there are ghost workers, there has to be some evidence from labor to the contrary. So what kind of engagement or even research or findings of labor to the effect have you had? What were the processes through which these individuals got into government in the first place for them to expect to get paid? What kind of findings did the labor get to validate the fact that the Imo State government is being untrue or unfair?
Yes, in labor, we have a very robust research department. And what we did, when we bring an allegation based on the evidence and the facts that we have, to say that, okay, based on this information we have, based on the facts submitted to us, we think that what you are doing is wrong. Then on the part of government, they will now say, no, what they are doing is also right, correct? So both parties will now sit down together to have a conversation. So when we get to such conversations, we bring our facts. In fact, the individuals, they are also there. So people that go to, the employment letter, when they were employed, the last pay, we bring everything. Then on the part of government, they have to also corroborate what they did. Then at the end, we will reach a middle point and we will reach a truth. But, like I said earlier, we signed an MOU with the Imo State government to say that, okay, this subject that we have agitated about, this subject that we have pushed over this period, let us sit down and have a conversation. So an MOU was signed in May. So the question now is that how come the Imo State government, they have been evasive? So all these things that you have talked about would have been resolved if both parties now come together. For example, we bring the employment letter, we bring the confirmation letters, we bring these information that we have. They will now say, no, this information that you have is not correct based on our own findings. Then we also look at what they are presenting. Then we will have a middle point. But this has not been done. We had an agreement to get this done. We reached a truce to get this done. But the Imo State government, they have been evasive. Okay. That is the crux of the matter.
Okay, two more questions from me. One, are you saying that the governor of Imo State, Governor Uzodimma, in the statement he made while we were on break, is untrue? Are you saying that the governor is lying?
It's very clear. Ask the governor, did the representative of your government, did they sign an MOU with labor? Ask him. So if the answer was yes, okay, in that MOU, we said we are going to set up a committee to meet. So ask him as well if that meeting has ever been held. This same governor said nobody has contacted him. This same governor said nobody reached out to him. But several letters have been sent to him. An MOU was signed. So for an MOU to have been signed, was it ghosts that went there? They were individuals led from the two centers, NLC and TUC, at the federal level. We went there and we had a conversation. So ask him. So if an MOU was signed and the governor is not saying nobody has contacted him, then, I mean, me and you, we could deduce who is lying. It's very simple. There is nothing to contest.
You haven't quite answered that question. Are you saying that the governor is lying?
But I've just said that clearly, that what the governor is saying is completely not true. He is lying. Yes, he is lying. It's very clear. He's lying.
Okay, one more thing. Many people wonder why we have not heard anything, not even any action, from the labor movement in Imo State. We understand that there has been removal and counter-removal, and then when further asked here in the studio, one of the things your representatives told us was that there is a caretaker committee of labor in Imo State. Why are we not hearing anything from that fellow?
Yes, it's very clear. If you want to talk to them, if you want to interview both the chairman of NLC and the chairman of TUC in Imo State, we will bring them to your studio. I mean, the strike that we are doing, they have also issued circulars. We can also forward the circulars to you. So if you want their phone numbers as well, we could also make their phone numbers available as well, because these are individual. Both the TUC executive in Imo, they are substantive executive, while that of the NLC is caretaker, because the Imo State governor refused an election to be held, because they sent talks to the secretariat on the day the election was supposed to be held. They took away lots of equipment belonging to the NLC, and they drove everybody away, so they couldn't hold the election. But that of TUC, we have a substantive executive of TUC in Imo. If you want to speak to them, we could send you their contact, and you have conversations with them. As we speak today, they've also issued the notice of strike as well. So,
all right. So I think we'll follow through with that one. But just before you go, is it right because we saw some of those images, Labour was forcing banks and workers to close. I thought it's supposed to be, voluntary and not force people to embark on that strike.
And yes, again, when actions like this happen, we at the leadership level, when we receive reports, we'll continuously review them. But if there are members of the Labour, members of any of the affiliates of Labour working there, you have the right to ask your member to go home. So if there are members of maybe as Bifi or Nui Bifi who are the unions and the banks, if they were in such banks, you have the right to ask them to go home.
But not forcing them to go. Just asking.
No, like forcing. We are saying that they brutalize us. Labour does not brutalize anybody. But we ask our members to go home.
Okay, so if you ask them and they choose to stay, they can stay.
Yes, because we have other means of disciplining our members, yes, outside forcing them. We won't force them.
So one more thing then, when electricity workers go on strike, will they leave the lights on?
Yes, so it depends, because again, if you are going on strike and you assess your environment, you discover that it will be unsafe for you to leave the entire plant on while you are away, then it's better you take care of it. Because just imagine, if you have some critical equipment and you leave them like that, before you come back, you could have fire, you could have some issues. So in such case, yeah, they will be taken care of.
I understand ASU is joining the strike in solidarity, is that right?
Yes, so on our part, what we are doing is that we are scaling up. We are scaling up the strike on a daily basis because we want government to act. Yes, of course.
But Labour didn't join ASU in solidarity when they were on strike some time ago for almost 8 months for salaries not paid.
There was a protest, if you remember. NLC led a protest when that happened. The protest was led successfully here in Abuja. I think that was somewhere around last year, July, there was a protest from NLC when that happened. And there were a lot of engagement as well. And even till today, if you look at the communique that we have signed, even with the federal government, you could see the line of ASU. We are still pressuring federal government to do what is right.
All right, then, Comrade Festus Osifo, President of Trade Union Congress, and Pengasin, thank you for coming on today.
Thank you so much, Ambali.
All right, we'll be back in a moment. Stay on with us.
heartburn and indigestion? Try Gestade. My recommendation for the past 26 years, Gestade. Reliable remedy for heartburn, indigestion, flatulence, and acidity.
Discover Lipton's flavorful and balanced taste. We pick fine quality tea leaves from selected tea gardens around the world to give you Lipton Yellow Label's flavorful and balanced taste in every sip.
All is set for the 2023 Chartered Institute of Directors Annual Conference.
As always, it promises to be exciting, educative, and entertaining.
And a beautiful opportunity to network with some of the finest boardroom gurus and directors in Africa.
We have a rich lineup of keynote speeches, panel discussions, networking opportunities,
and a government meets business dinner.
Our theme this year is driving Nigeria's economic transformation and diversification, the role of corporate governance.
And it will be taking place at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel Abuja
on the 16th and 17th of November 2023.
Please visit our website for registration and sponsorship details.
You cannot afford to miss this.
See you there.
In today's ever-evolving and challenging landscape, transformational leadership is your gateway to success. Join the TEXM Senior Executive Program to unlock cutting-edge strategies and insights for victory. Experience the enrichment of strategic leadership skills, resilience, and a sustained competitive advantage. Seize this golden opportunity to empower yourself and your organization to thrive. Join illustrious TEXM's faculty, including Harvard's Maximize Your Board founding director, Professor Rodria Laline, renowned survivor John Peters, and London Business School's alumni, Professor Paul Griffith, at Hilton, London, from November 27 to 30. Invest 5,969,000 naira in your future for strategic outcomes. For details, email exec@texm.co.uk. TEXM, insights that inspire, actions that change the world.
There were overvoting in 17 local governments, including my local government, Ijomu local government. Accreditation on Form EC8A. You can see what it is. Then see the discrepancies with what you have in Rivers accreditation. Just look at it. It's so clear, so open, so brazenly done, so shamelessly done, so ridiculously done. Remember yesterday when INEC made a press release, they said there were discrepancies or reported discrepancies in 5 local governments and that they were investigating it. INEC said they were investigating it. While you were investigating, you went ahead to declare those local governments. You will see how mutilated the result sheets are. You will see where PDP votes were cancelled and reduced. This is an example of one. You know, PDP votes there cancelled and reduced, while that of APC increased. I have about 10 of such results here. All of this is just an example, but I have more than 200 results. And there are 72 polling units where I won elections in local government. At the point of announcement, they said there are no result sheets. They said there are no result sheets. Result sheets now manifested at the collation center.
That's a private jetty kind of picture there of Mr. Imo Governor, former Deputy Governor of Kogi State. Good morning and thank you for coming on today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, clearly, of course, several people are not happy with that elections, as we also have seen in different states where this election's held. But the way and manner with which this happened in Kogi is what Mr. Malaya and some of his colleagues were speaking out in terms of what they saw. And INEC themselves also, they say, yes, they noticed some infraction and they had to put up statements concerning what they were going to do about all of that. So for you, how do you see it?
The elections of the 11th of November came and went. And I'll tell you, it's probably the best elections we've had since 2012 in Kogi State.
How's that?
The election was absolutely violence-free. The people turned out in their numbers. And INEC did a very, very good job. Let me speak specifically from where I come from. I come from Kogi West. I come from Mopambro local government. The process was very, very free and fair. Everything went the way it ought to have gone. Security men were there, and they provided cover, and things went very, very well. Now, I've listened to the comments of the other gladiators, and I commensurate with them. I feel for them. It's very, very painful to lose elections. And the normal tendency is to grab straws from wherever you can find it. I've seen that things have been said that figures are inflated and all that. That is not true, to the best of my knowledge. Figures were turned out in their numbers in Kogi Central and in Kogi East as well. People voted maybe due to primordial sentiments, and it manifested clearly in the margins. In the case of Kogi West, we had a situation whereby we fielded 3 candidates, and the votes were split 3 ways. And the APC is a behemoth, is a political juggernaut. It's a behemoth. I haven't just left the PDP to join the APC. I can tell you the level of preparation that goes into election in the APC is remarkable.
Why did they, if that was the case, why did they, as many people are asking, why did they have to seek the help, or why was an official of the commission caught with prepaid, pre-filled papers trying to help the cause of the party?
I read that news item just like you also read it, I guess. But politics is a very, very funny game. It's a very, very funny game. All manners of setup can happen. I'm not going to hold brief for the INEC. I'm happy that the INEC have said they would investigate it, and I believe that that investigation is ongoing.
Okay, because, I mean, if you look at where the areas was APC stronghold, and some of those areas that INEC spoke about, and then the candidates from the East, in fact, many from the West, also pointed accusing fingers at the party, saying, well, if they were that strong, look at that. That speaks for itself.
You see, like I said, when you lose an election, you are hurting, and you will do all you can to justify your situation. What I know is that APC is remarkably strong, particularly in the Central, because the candidate that was presented is from Central. And mark you, Central was very, very smart, and they had only one candidate. In the West, we had 3. In the East, we had like 4 or 5. Governor Yahabelo was very, very strategic in making sure that a very strong and sole candidate emerged from the Central. And that was clearly manifested in the
Did you also
figures.
hear what they spoke about? How come 2 local government areas produced results that made the candidates almost like saying 2 local governments voted him in, given the nature of Kogi?
That is not true. 21 local governments voted him in. 21. The 7 local governments from my place voted him in.
Yeah, but what were the figures? Because he said, look,
they were very, very remarkable.
He says those 2 local government areas where the figures were humongous. In fact, that was what catapulted him to his nearest
Mark you,
person.
The candidate, Ododo, is from Okene, and there was a unanimity amongst the people that they must deliver their son. So if they turn out in their numbers, you can't blame them.
Is that turning out in their numbers?
Sorry?
Because, you described it as them turning out in their numbers.
Yes.
Because the SDP candidate was here, and he clearly said, no, that the APC wrote the results. They trusted INEC to do the needful. That didn't happen, but he thumped his chest and said, no, that result was fabricated.
Did that report come from his men on the field there? Did the SDP people write that in the incident report? It's so easy to just sit back and just say things, that you cannot substantiate. I do not think that was the case. There was massive mobilization by Central. People came from Kaduna, Abuja, Owo, Akure. Buses came in. people who were registered, they made sure they all came to vote. You know, there are lessons to be learned here.
What kind of lessons?
You must mobilize your people to come and vote. So many of the people who register at home don't come to vote. You must fish them out and appeal to them to come and vote.
Well, I have been looking at, I mean, you have described some of the incidences that have been reported as the opponents clutching at straws. But even when you have INEC recognizing the incidences that have happened, and a number of them widespread, you don't think that that is serious enough for those kinds of things to be recognized, even by the winning party?
Absolutely. It is unacceptable for electoral fragments to be glossed over. But I believe that INEC was very clear that they would investigate and that within 24 hours, they'll come up with their findings. I believe that that had been done, and they went ahead to announce the results.
You don't think that it raises questions about the victory of the candidate of the APC?
No.
When you say that the APC is a behemoth and it prepares for elections, people will wonder what sort of preparations are being made if they include, you know, writing results and pre-filling result sheets, from INEC officials.
If I say the APC is a behemoth, I'm not saying that is what makes them that. It's because of the level of preparation that goes on, the campaigning, the strategies that have been deployed. The agents are coached very well to know how to conduct themselves at the polling units. So it is remarkable.
Okay, so as a party, I mean, there's been no formal statement, there's been nothing to the effect that, you know, these are issues that, you know, you would also like the commission to look into, despite the fact that you won. You don't think that will in some way at least show that you're concerned more about the process, not just about you winning?
Yes, I mean, we are still in a very celebratory mood. The results were declared on Sunday. Today is Wednesday. We have a meeting on Thursday. We'll review everything. And at the end of the day, I'm sure His Excellency, the Governor Bello, would say something about it.
But so far, so good. There's been nothing said in that regard.
I am not sure. I'm in Abuja, and things happen on a daily basis in Lokoja.
Okay. Are you also a little concerned about how your state is also being depicted in terms of fears around violence? You know, we had a guest here yesterday, and he was saying that one of the things that they noticed was the fact that the fear around violence was taken care of, was in some ways handled, and that, you know, driving into Kogi State, you could see that, you know, the roads were well protected, you know, security checkpoints were mounted in good time, and, you know, the police officers were quite friendly. But do you think that, you know, the very fact that Kogi State had that sort of reputation is something that should bother you?
Absolutely. It has always been of great concern to me. As you may know, before now, I was a member of the PDP, and those days, we really felt the brunt of that. However, when we met Mr. President, he was very, very clear that, look, this election must go and organize ourselves because he would not tolerate violence in a formal manner. When we returned to Kogi State, the Governor Yahya Bello, called all the party stalwarts and cautioned them that, look, whoever has a propensity towards violence should make sure it doesn't happen, because he would not tolerate that at all in this circle. He went on and said, anybody who is caught with arms and calls him, he is going to facilitate his being locked up. So, and that clearly manifested in the process on Saturday. The election was absolutely violence-free. At least the violence was not orchestrated by APC or the government. So...
Is that what the police said?
No, we all saw it.
Okay.
We all saw it.
Because all of
in my
them
polling
say the same
unit,
thing.
see, in my polling unit, during the presidential election, we had one female police lady who sat through the whole thing. This time around, we had up to 15. So it was well guarded and
15 policemen?
Yes. It was rather very reassuring. And people came out in droves. Maybe that's also part of what accounted for the turnout we also had. People saw that, yes, they could feel safe, and they came out and voted.
How do we then account for vote buying, which has been reported by a number of ESOs as well?
Vote buying, that is a very, very serious problem for our electioneering and voting. Elections have now taken the mold of party primaries. You know, it is something that has to be addressed holistically. The electorate see how the parties conduct themselves during the primaries. Huge sums of monies are deployed to secure votes of the delegates. Millions at times. So the electorate too have now imbibed the notion that, hey, if you can spend $1 million to get this ticket, I want my own share too. But I can tell you that it is something that is so pervasive and so prevalent. It has probably taken a life of its own now. So the poor candidate has to find the money to do what he has to do to win. Vote buying is a terrible thing. We have all the laws, we have all the guidelines to make sure it doesn't happen, yet it keeps going on. But thank God it did not happen in my own polling unit.
Okay, it's interesting. So you acknowledge that this is something that almost all the parties are engaging in.
I do not come to a national space like this and lie. It happens. It's distasteful. We need to have a conversation around this and see how it can be resolved.
It happens or it happened?
It happens. Happens.
Yeah, I know. I'm asking if it happened in this election.
I don't know. It happens.
I thought you said you cannot come to national TV and lie.
That's why I said that it didn't happen in my own polling unit. But I know it happens.
That means for this election,
maybe it happened somewhere else. Maybe it was the SDP or the ADC or the PDP or the APC. We have to find out who and who.
But usually, it is those who are liquid that can do it.
My brother, anybody who is contesting an election and is not liquid has no hope of winning.
So, I mean, if the ruling party, they're usually more liquid than many because...
Some members of the opposition have the capacity to mobilize funds as well, as was the case of Ajaka. He's a very, very rich man. He's very well-heeled. He's a nice guy, by the way. Senator Dilo Emilaye, my brother, he is a billionaire. So they are well-heeled.
In Kogi West, they felt it was their time. You were from Kogi West, but you didn't think so.
I felt it was our time, yes. I felt it was our time, and that was why I threw my hat in the ring in my previous party. And believe me sincerely, I felt I did my analysis properly. I looked at it very, very, very well. Is it worth trying in the light of the behemoth that the ruling party is? And I looked at it. If ABC happens, I may have a fighting chance of winning. And believe me, when I didn't get the ticket, I was still prepared to sort of see how can we manage ourselves. But the process that threw up the candidate of our party was so flawed. And I left. I joined the APC to find another option, another strategy of making sure that someday Kogi West will have a candidate. Mark you, By the time that time comes, I'll be too old. I will be in my 70s. But it behoves upon me to start the work today that will make sure that a candidate from the West emerges. The results of this election has shown very, very clearly that no one senatorial district can go it alone, not the people from the East or the Central or the West. So there has to be this alliance.
So did the West think they could go it alone?
The West did not do the homework that was necessary. Look, I believe that the way things are, because our election is an off-cycle election, the first after a president is being sworn in, it is beneficial for us to think straight and know that for us to achieve this goal, we have the best chance of getting it in the ruling party. Therefore, with what has happened in the Central now, the people of the West supported Central massively. There is an IOU in place.
So is it justified for them to feel betrayed now?
Who?
The West.
How? Why? No.
Because they thought we supported Central, we supported East. Now is our time, and then they won't support us.
Look, no. There was a candidate from the Central on the ruling party. The people of the West thought it was that, look, let us support this candidate from the Central. So that
but why, if that were the case, why did the elders, Kogi West Elders Forum, they chose one of the candidates from the West, saying, this is what we want?
Look, I don't want to talk about the Kogi West Elders Forum because the politics of our place is deeper than that. I can throw up 1,001 groups who would also say it's right for us to support.
So that's a fictitious group?
No. There are people I have a lot of respect for. Some of them are my elders. No, but politics goes beyond sentiment. You must be hard-nosed and calculating in the way you marshal your thoughts and your plans.
Did they make a mistake?
Who?
The West, the Elders Forum.
Did the West win?
That's clearly a mistake.
Misjudgment, I'll say.
So, what would you advise them to do moving forward?
They should join the APC, and I'm serious here. We need to have all our people in the West converge in the APC, the ruling party. Let us sit down and position ourselves properly. For
not SDP.
SDP is a vehicle that was quickly put together principally for this election.
But look at the amount of votes it garnered.
It is based on primordial sentiments. You see, and that's the result of this election has demystified a lot of things. The East, they have the numbers. They are 49.9% of the population of the state, but they have only 9 local governments. And the Constitution is in Section 179 says that you must have 2/3 spread. So you need 14 local governments to win. So it is abundantly clear now that you must form alliances, you must collaborate for you to win, no matter how populated you are.
So you don't think the SDP candidate will be a force to reckon with for the next elections?
Everybody is a force. Everybody is a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, but someone was first, someone was second, and then third, fourth, fifth will not be the same force as the first and second.
I agree with you. I agree with you clearly. Muri Ajaka has stepped out. He's made himself somebody to be reckoned with, and I wish him well, you know. I actually commend him. He said he didn't intend to challenge these results in court. Why? Because he is basically an APC member. And he knows the behemoth that the APC is.
Well, I don't think that's why that's the reason that he gave.
That is the reason I want to infer from.
No,
from
that's not the reason he gave. In fact, he said he's not going to waste his time in court. That's what he said. And I think that you know, it says a lot of things, especially when you look at the fact that INEC is now beginning to defend disparities that have been noticed here and there, or allegations that there has been manipulations, etc. But I want to take you on the issue of you saying that everybody should join the APC. You know, you're just a member of the PDP up until this year.
Yeah.
You joined the APC this year. And the PDP was also the same behemoth. I mean, people did not think that there could be any other party apart from the PDP. And that's one of the reasons why the elections were fiercely, not the elections, the primaries for the PDP in many states were fiercely contested, because people assumed that if you got the ticket, you're as good as, you know, being in office. So what are the guarantees, especially when you begin to look at internal wranglings? What are the guarantees? And these wranglings are already happening at the federal level. Some of it as a fallout of the APC. Some of it as a result of the fallout of the primaries that produced the current president. So for you, you know, what is the likelihood that, you know, the APC will continue to be the behemoth that you think it is? Because when you also look at it, because you say you're calculating, you're starting the work now, so that it could one day be the turn of Kogi West. And that by that time, you'll be too old. Yeah. Some people will say, no, this is a calculation, knowing that very soon, this might be the turn of Kogi West, and you most likely will be the candidate chosen.
First and foremost, I was a member of the PDP for 25 unbroken years. Never stepped out one day, and I never did anti-party. Even in cases where the candidates that emerged from the primaries were not my choice, I still went ahead and I worked for my party. I don't want to go over the last primaries and the way it went and why I had to leave the party. You know, the PDP, and I don't really want to talk too much about the PDP, because the PDP was my party, and I still have a lot of friends there. And so I wouldn't want to sort of put them down. But there's one thing I'll say. The PDP of 1999 is not the PDP we have today. The PDP as envisioned by the founding fathers is not what we have now.
One of which is what, Elijah TUC?
Sorry?
The former vice president, one of the founders? Or one of the key members?
Yeah, yeah.
Because you said everybody should move to APC.
Yeah.
But here, today, he's quoted as saying, no, Nigeria must not be allowed to slide into one-party dictatorship.
You see, I said that within the context of Kogi West and our desire to strive to fill the candidates for the governorship. That was the context. I wouldn't want to see a situation whereby we'll have a one-party state. No. But I'm saying that for Kogi West, for us to have a fighting chance someday soon, we should all mobilize ourselves to join the APC. That is what any party member would do. You clamor to have everybody join you. And incidentally, cross my heart, I'm already receiving phone calls from people from even the East saying they would like to join and they want to use me as the vehicle of joining the APC. So they can see the light.
Who then checks? Who then checks the party in power in Kogi?
The people. The people.
That you're asking to join?
No. I mean, well, she said who checks. It's not every citizen that is a party member.
The people whose votes can be bought.
If they join, the voice is gone.
No, wait. Let's get this straight. It's not every citizen of the state that is a member of the political party. Kogi State has a population of about 4.5 million people. The total number of party faithfuls across board, I don't think it's up to 1 million. So we still have that bulk that can stay there and put the government in check.
So the people who are not well-heeled, they're elite. All of them will be in one particular political party, but the people who have been left vulnerable are now the ones that will be checking their leaders. Is that what you're saying?
I don't understand what you're trying to make out of this. Look, I'm a member of the APC. If it was possible, I want every single citizen of the state to join the APC. It makes our work much easier. So if all the elites are members of the APC, so be it. It's good for us as a party. That then it now enriches the content of the membership, the quality of our politicians, and our ability to deliver for the people.
Well, you say it's good for the party, but clearly the opposition thinks it will not be good for the country if that were the case.
Yes.
Democracies that have advanced, is this the model that they adopt? They say they'll tell you clearly not. Let's bring in our colleague in Lagos. He's got questions for you as well. Ayo.
Thank you, Chamberlain. So let me ask a quick follow-up on that one. Are you saying that a one-party state is good for Kogi State?
I never said that. I did not say so. I'm only making an appeal that everybody should join my party. How far that my appeal goes is yet to be tested.
Okay. Well, there's something you said earlier that underscored a question that I wanted to ask you. When you said a lot of the campaigning and a lot of the voting in Kogi State was along primordial, were based on primordial sentiments. And some analysts also speaking about the elections in Kogi State also point in that direction, that people voted more along ethnic divides in the state. How functional, how useful do you think that is, given the challenges that the government of the day will have to contend with, way beyond the primordial sentiments?
You know, it's most unfortunate that where ideas end, sentiments take over. And unfortunately for us in Nigeria, including Kogi State, we really haven't moved away from these primordial sentiments. You know, sometimes it's ethnicity, sometimes it's religion. We need to sort of step up the game as a political class, find a way to make sure that people look at the candidates for their merits and vote accordingly. It's a journey of 1,000 miles. We are just taking the first step now. Someday soon we will get there. Mark you, it's been known in the past not to be like that, where you have a stellar and distinguished candidate. Like the case of 1993 when MKO was elected. He was celebrated across the whole spectrum. Maybe someday we will get back there.
But how will we get there, Mr. Awuni? Because even in the days of MKO that you mentioned, a sizable number of people that voted were largely uneducated. And that's been our story as a nation since the First Republic, even now. In this previous government, for instance, released data that says 133 million Nigerians are multidimensionally poor, including in Kogi State. So if the people who are going to vote are politically illiterate, politically uneducated, and they just know that, that's our kinsman, we're just going to vote for him. Even in the opposition parties, they went to certain places and said, we're not going to get any votes from this place because the sentiments here are for the other candidates. So how are we going to get there if those sentiments remain as prominent, given the level of illiteracy, level of political uneducation that we have in the entire space?
You know, I agree with you partly, but you know, simply because a man is not lettered, a man is not schooled, a man hasn't gone through the four walls of a school, doesn't mean that he is not politically astute. In some communities, the strongest politicians there, those who mold opinion, are illiterates, if I can use that term. But they're very, very grounded in the yearnings of their people. They understand the developments they need, the roads, the boreholes, the water, the light, the schools. So that knowledge is being used to sort of mobilize people along certain lines. So yes, I quite agree that education is absolutely fundamental. So fundamental that I would have wished that the educational requirements for certain positions in Nigeria are upped a little bit so that we get better candidates. That has been our bane, really. And then we should encourage proper interaction between the candidates and the electorate. We don't have that enough. I know media stations like yours, you've tried to organize debates. Some candidates will come, some wouldn't come. And all these rallies are just jamborees. They just come, make noise, and just go. There's no proper interaction. So not until we are able to expose the candidates and really interrogate the programs they have, you know, we would still be going around in circles.
I go with your, I think a number of people will agree with your recommendation that academic qualifications of those who want to get into certain levels of government would be elevated a little higher. For the president and for the governor, what would be your minimum recommendation?
I think it stands to logic. I think where Nigeria is today and where the world is going, we probably need to, and if you look at the vast nature of the education space, we have, the minimum should be a university degree.
Okay.
A university degree and some bit of IT savvy.
Okay.
The world has gone so far now that we can't just have somebody who is just groping about certain. Or you want to say something?
No, I mean, I think that question is answered. I just want to take a quick, pick your brain quickly on something that we discussed earlier. The NLC has called out a strike, a nationwide strike, because of an attack on the president of the NLC. NLC and TUC called out the attack. What is your take on that, given the circumstances around it?
For me, the matter of labor has been a major recurring factor in this nation, even in Kogi State. The good works of Governor Yahya Bello have been buried under the issue of salaries. So what is happening in Imo is not unique to that state alone. I know many states are struggling to pay salaries, particularly for their local government staff. In my state, for example, at the state level, the staff get paid. But at the local government level, where you have a staff strength in excess of 1,000 people, where if it was a business, you wouldn't employ more than 100. There's a monumental mismatch there. So this problem with labor will be ever reoccurring. But to answer your question specifically, I think it's very sad and unfair the way the NLC chairman was attacked. And I'm so happy that His Excellency, the Governor of Imo, has apologized. And I think the issue of going on strike would just, bring additional hardship to the people. So I would appeal to labor. Let there be dialogue. Let us find a way of accommodating this sad event and save Nigeria from unnecessary strike and hardship.
In order for that not to happen again, probably, do you support those who were involved in it? They should be brought to book?
I mean, yes, of course. Any infraction in this country should be punished.
All right. I understand Mr. Jaka has now said that he's going to go to court to challenge that. So it's not, the governor-elect may not breathe easy yet until all of that is sorted. So that's what's going to happen. We'll have to thank you for coming on. Yomi Awuni, former Deputy Governor of Kogi State. Let's take a look at some messages coming through just before we go. This is from Niyi Afolabi, who's talking about labor activities. He says, labor may need to be democratic in its activities. How can they be protesting an assault against their president, but they are harassing Nigerians to obey their call for a strike?
Well, this is from Henry Onono, and he says, Isn't Ajero worth protesting and striking for? Why is the nation mum about the wrong things going on in Imo State? Is there no way to investigate and determine the truth about the state of Imo workers? The only way is for citizens to wake up and engage the government of the day directly in the most legal manner.
Along the same line, Femi Anibaba says if the NLC calls for a strike and workers decided to go to work, NLC should know that the workers are not in support of the strike. If they have to go around to chase people away from their places of work and prevent people from going about their legitimate businesses, that's terrorism, not activism.
Yeah, I think there are two more, actually.
Oh.
This is Dr. Yinka Olaniyan, and he says if it is believed that the NLC president was assaulted by people known by name to NLC as alleged, the proper and civil response should be to recourse to legal processes against such people. Calling out a national strike for that reason is a blatant abuse of workers' might.
And this one is from Victor. He says, how are salaries paid in the state? Are there no records of salaries paid? Why is the governor not showing Nigerians that he has paid? Where is Labour's evidence they stand on to? There are too many interests. But there's this on mail, Kenneth Chukwu, it says he's from Imo. He believes that the governor is still owing. So jury's out there. I guess the matter will keep going on as Labour has asked several questions of the government. But that is the show today. We do thank you all for watching, and as always, we'll see you again tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain, so goodbye.
Thank you for watching, and thank you for sending in your feedback. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful and fruitful day.